Did you get the video I sent?
Hey,
Hey,
hey. It's Sponto Time. You're
woo!
live with Izzy and Laura. I am Laura Bergels, and thank you for joining us. With me today is Izzy.
Gesell.
Say hi, Izzy.
Hi, Laura.
And
Hi,
who else is
everybody.
with us today? Who's there? Usually the first few minutes, we want to make sure that we're all set up and ready to go, that we've got people in the audience, that they can hear us okay. So if you're there, let us know, say hi. And if you're not there, we'll play a commercial. We'll just go straight to commercial. We'll play a video. We'll do something like that. Because Izzy and I are here today to talk about what we did over our summer vacation.
Yes, we did.
Yeah,
Yes, it was like going to church every Sunday. We'd get together.
it's true. We put this game together, and the reason we made this game Sponto Time is because we had a lot of clients that were telling us the same thing. And I am a business communication coach. Izzy is a presentation coach, and we are both here on LinkedIn as LinkedIn learning instructors. And I've taken Izzy's courses, and they are fantastic. And Amanda Hessel, she's here, and Amanda's saying hi. So thank you for being here, Amanda. And we're just talking about what we did over our summer break, which was develop these games. And the reason we develop these games is because we have clients tell us pretty much the same things. Things like, I want to be more spontaneous. I want to be a better storyteller. I want to be more creative. I want to collaborate better with my team. And we both use a game-based approach. Oh, I want to be a better storyteller. That's another one. And we both use game-based approaches in our workshops and our consults that we do. And I know that I like using games because they're fun and they're engaging, and people learn better, in my opinion, when they're having fun and it's more engaging. So that is what we did. We developed a card game, and there are hundreds, if not thousands, of different games that you can play with these cards. So we are looking forward to playing some games with you.
Yeah, and one of the other things that, as you were talking, Laura, what people are also asking for is a certain confidence in dealing with surprises, with unexpected events, especially if you're giving a speech, whether it's in front of 5 people or 500 people. Things happen that you don't expect, and I found recently, number one, number two fear is what if I don't know what if something happens that I can't respond to, a question and so forth, or my 30-minute speech is cut into 20 minutes because the boss needs time. How do I deal with the unexpected? And that's really what these improv-based games teach you, is the confidence to expect the unexpected.
Exactly. One thing that we often say, both Izzy and I, is spontaneity is a skill. And like any other skill, it can be learned, and you need to practice it to get better. And I know it sounds like an oxymoron. Wait, if I practice spontaneity, isn't that an oxymoron? But no, because spontaneity is a skill. If you don't practice it, you're not going to be as skilled or as good at it as someone who actually practices their spontaneity skills.
Yeah.
So what Izzy and I did is we developed a game called Sponto Time.
Which is a short way of being spontaneous, which is too long to fit into many graphic designs. So we shortened it.
That's right. And we also noticed, because we were putting this game together over Zoom on the weekends, and every time we would say spontaneity, we would be excited, and we discovered that it's a really hard word to say, and it's a super hard word to spell. So even when I said, hey, spontaneity is hard to say, it's hard to spell, Izzy would say, did you spell spontaneity right there?
It looks wrong, but it's right. And when it looks right, it's wrong. So it's one of those I before E after C kind of, yeah. So Sponto is easy.
It actually is. So what we want to do is play one game with you, and we have no idea what's going to happen. And I'll show you the game really quickly. The game comes in a box. It's a deck of 54 different cards. And we've got the 54 cards that we developed. And they are three different suits, three different colors. We've got green cards, purple cards, orange cards. All right. So the purple cards, purple, personality traits. So on the other side, we have all kinds of personality traits, right? On the second deck of cards, or the second sort, is green for environment. These are our environmental cards. And on the other side, we have all kinds of environments. And the orange deck, or the orange ones, are crises or problems that you can encounter. And there are different games that we can play, but today we'd like to start by playing what we call a warm-up game. And the purpose of a warm-up game is simply to get your mouth and brain moving at once. It's a very core spontaneity skill, and it can be quite revealing as well. So the game we're going to play really quickly is a game called 5 Fast Things. And in this game, I will pick a card, any color card, and I'll ask Izzy to say 5 things as fast as he can that are associated with the word on the card. And the word, Izzy, are you ready? Are you ready for your 5 fast things? Are you ready? Okay.
Yeah.
Let's do it, and I'll count it down. I'll count it down while you do it. Your word, Izzy, or your word phrase is pickle factory.
Pickle factory, jars, sour, sandwich, crunchy, delicatessen, and pastrami sandwich.
That's 6 things.
Oh, bonus.
Bonus 6 things. Very good, Izzy. Tell me something about what happened there. What we often do after we play a game or two is we will do something called a debrief to understand ourselves a little bit better. And I want to ask Izzy, how did he feel about me putting him on the spot? He had no idea that he was suddenly going to start blurting things about a pickle factory.
Yeah, well, first of all, I knew I was going to start blurting things about something. And it goes back to what you had mentioned earlier. The confidence of spontaneity is not in knowing that I'll know the answer. The confidence is in knowing that I will come up with what I need to come up with. So that's why we can practice spontaneity. The key for me, I heard the word, and the first challenge is not to anticipate, because it never is going to happen like I expected. So I don't want to start being thrown off an expectation and having to rebound. The real key is, once I saw Pickle Factory, I thought, what's my first connection to a pickle? And the challenge for most of us in spontaneity is we try to come up with the right answer, the best answer. The key, like in writing, is just start. Because once you start, your brain starts making connections. So the first step was, take a second or two, pickle, and I don't even remember what I said, but I do remember there was jars, there was.
That was the first thing you said, jars.
Yeah, right. And then from that, I visualized pickle jars, I visualized the liquid, I visualized the sound. So the lesson here, which I learned over and over again, is it's not that you have to think fast. It's just that you have to have action. You have to do something right away. And the brain works that it will sequentially connect one thing to another. Notice that I said nothing about a factory. But so I was stuck on that pickle. If I had picked up on factory, that would have worked also. But the beauty is, and once you make a decision, just go with it.
Yeah. What I often advise too is say anything at all, even if it's not related, because even that thing, that nothing, is a thing. And it could spark something else. The whole just get the ball rolling, get the pickle rolling, so to speak. Now, in all fairness, just to be fair, Jake is saying in the audience that Jake loves this. Thank you, Jake. I appreciate you. That you just get your mouth moving. You didn't know that it was going to be a pickle factory or anything. I will shuffle the deck right now. I'll just shuffle the orange ones and pick one for myself. And I don't know what it is. Dirty looks. I have to say 5 fast things about dirty looks.
Ready?
Izzy.
1.
Frowning.
2.
Glaring.
3.
Punching.
4.
Stupid.
5.
That's the 5 things. That was a hard one for me because I had to think dirty looks. That's not something that I do to people, but how do I started going with how do I feel when I am the recipient of a dirty look? Yeah. So I went with that and then just started on a roll with how that would go.
Yeah, and in this game, you notice that we were counting for each other. I didn't actually hear Laura counting, which is why I got to 6. And one of the things that I'm reflecting on now, which I hadn't thought about, that it's called 5 fast things. Once I started, I wasn't counting for myself because that would have sort of taken too much brain energy. So I focused on what was happening was the word that came after the word that came after the word. And I was on a roll. I got to 6 without even thinking about it.
Yeah, I was doing this, but I realized that you were in your own mode. And if I had been saying it out loud, you would have had that cue. And yeah. I think that's also a good note for accessibility, that sometimes we're comfortable doing what we do. And we play these games to say, oh, you know what? Izzy thinks and works differently than I do. I'm more visual. And he wasn't paying attention to any of my visual cues. He is more of a, I am listening than looking. And that helps us be better teammates when we start learning these things about each other and discussing them afterwards.
And when you're playing with a group or a team, this adds to the fun if everybody is counting out loud, because it stimulates some energy. And there's a certain, like when you're rooting someone on, they're on a race or they're going towards something, it really affects the person who's counting to hear the numbers.
I tell you, this is a very simple game. Mm-hmm. It could not be more simple, right? A child could do this. And the way we design these games actually is so that children can do it. Izzy and I both do improv in theaters and comedy clubs and things like that. And what we noticed is that sometimes you get a crowd that's had a few drinky poos and they can shout out things that are really quite rude or disrespectful. And in the context of a comedy club, that's fine. You roll with it. Mm-hmm. But these aren't things that you want to do at work, right? You don't want to say those sort of things. And if you're playing with children, you certainly don't want those sort of things reinforced as you're playing with children. So we design the cards so that they are work-friendly, corporation-friendly, and kid-friendly too. But you still get environments and problems that are relatable for a lot of people.
Yeah. And these cards, if you've been to an improv show, you know that the improvisers ask for prompts from the audience. Mm-hmm. Who are these people? Where are they? What's their problem? This is what we put into the deck for you. The prompts that will set the scene. All improv games have a scenario. They're in a context. And that's what these prompt cards do. So you don't have to really think very much, except you just start playing.
Yeah. Like Jake is saying, this sounds like a fun game to play with my kids to help them think on their feet. Very cool game as an icebreaker with a team. Yes, Jake, we did this game. And then the next day it wasn't the next day, but it was 2 days afterwards. I got a call from a client who said, I was working in the yards and the kids said, oh, we're bored. What can we play? And he said, I just started doing with them. He said, thinking that, they'd be bored and move off within a few minutes. He said, I kept working and they kept playing with me and we kept naming things. We kept going on and on. So it helps them become more spontaneous. Told you it was hard to say.
Easy
Uh,
for you to say. Yeah, yeah.
but it's also a nice way to keep them active and keeping their brain engaged. As a matter of fact, true story, I like playing this game just solo by myself before I hop into a Zoom call because it sort of helps me with the lateral thinking skills. It gets my mouth moving because I was saying to Izzy just before we came on that a lot of times I'm writing. I'm writing all day, and then suddenly, boop, I'm hopping into a Zoom meeting. My throat's not warmed up. My face isn't warmed up. My brain is still in typey mode instead of high communication mode with people. So getting the mouth moving, getting the brain thinking along with the mouth really helps me out there.
Yeah. The other thing that comes, another opportunity is once you start playing with someone, there's no reason that you can't do 6 fast things, 7 fast things. So you can begin to, all of the games that we've included have the ability to be adapted. So they are maybe skill levels. You can also do 5 fast things that, I don't know, make up a rule that begin with the letters W. You know, that makes it certainly more difficult, but you can challenge yourself because there's no consequence for making an answer that doesn't make sense. It's not there's no real world consequence to this. You can experiment with your creativity and fun to whatever level you want to.
I agree so much, and I use these games in other situations other than Five Fast Things. Five Fast Things is a warm up game just to get us going before we start playing some of the more complicated games. And the reason why we use games instead of the actual work that people do is number one, it's more fun, and number two, it's a lot lighter, much less taxing on the brain to talk about something fundamentally silly or offbeat because there isn't that real world consequence. I'm not asking you about, so tell me what the sales are like in the third quarter of 2024. That's kind of a that's a big thing. But if I'm just saying name 5 things that are associated with lunch, that's the warm up that gets that mouth brain moving, that gets you into that zone of spontaneity.
Yeah, and there's a certain freedom that you begin to incorporate into your body about suspending judgment. The time pressure puts a little less ability time to judge, but the practice is that you begin to feel comfortable taking the first thing that comes to mind. And I've used this particular game as a model for later on. So when we've played it, we've warmed up, maybe towards the end of the meeting or if it's a full day conference and there's a certain problem. I remember with a sales team, I said, hey, before we do it, let's say money was no object and time was no object. Let's do 5 fast solutions to this customer's problem. And they just do that. And sometimes 4 of those things or 5 of those things make no sense, but somebody says, number 3, I have this idea. So that creativity is built upon itself, and that's another way you can take this game and use it in a more practical approach.
I love that because also what this does, and this is so deceptively simple, is you've set an environment or a place where it's safe to say things.
You can be
So you
silly.
can
Yeah.
kick out some very silly ideas without fear of that judgment, without fear of that, oh no, this is not going to go well. I don't want to say that. It's not a great idea. You've already primed the pump, so to speak, so that people are saying things that you really might want to hear about because they could be the answer to the problem that you're having at work.
And yeah, exactly. And what you pointed, Laura, to is a real fundamental benefit of here is that you're creating an environment, a culture where people feel comfortable taking a risk because they know they're not going to be slammed or judged, because everybody is being as vulnerable with their thoughts as other people. So that creates a culture of
Right.
innovation where people have more confidence in saying, "Hey, this may not make sense, but I'm going to give it out anyway."
Well, speaking of that, why don't we try playing one more simple
Okay.
warm-up game? It's a little more advanced. Still, kids can play this one. And it's starting to prime that pump, starting to get those creative juices flowing. And this is a game that we like to call X is like Y. X is like Y. And in this game, I can pick any two cards, get two words, and ask Izzy to say how one word is like the other word. And that's all there is to it. He has to come up with three ways. And this time, because I know better for accessibility reasons, I will say 1, 2, 3 so that Izzy can hear it as well as see it. So your two words, Izzy, are suck up
Yeah, suck up
and library.
library. How is suck up like a library? Well, when you want help with someone for a problem that you don't want to do yourself, you go to the library and suck up to the librarian by offering to help them do some work. Another way that suck up,
That's not.
yeah, another way that suck up is like a library in that a library has a lot of choices, and suck up is one of the choices you have when you're trying to um, uh, convince somebody to do something that you want them to. So in the matter of choices, suck up is like a library.
Two.
And okay, too. And the third one is that suck up is a status issue. When if you have to suck up to somebody, you're making them feel better. And a library is a status place because you can go there and it has all the information. So if you're known as a person who's living in the library, you have a high level. And if you're a person that people always suck up to you, you have a high level. So that's the way those two are like each other.
Thank you, Izzy. Now let's debrief that a little bit.
That was a hard one.
I was going to say, I watched you struggle with that one.
Well, the struggle is part of the skill building, and you know the spontaneity piece, the creativity piece is keep going towards something, and that's why I threw out things that I almost didn't know how I would make them do it, connect. But once I said it, I had to force myself to make the connection.
Yeah, you were struggling through it, and it was interesting to watch someone's brain work. You start feeling that you know them a little bit better when you do that. One other thing that I tend to do, and a lot of people tend to do when you see someone play this game, is you play the game along with them in your own head. And you're thinking, how can they not see it? The answer is obviously this. And you'd be surprised that we think it's so obviously this in our own heads, and it never even occurs to the other person in the moment. And that they're all choices, and they're endless amounts of choices. So the first thing is, to me, it just seems so obvious. It's like, suck up in a library. Of course, you go to the library to suck up information, you know? And that was the first thing that was in my head.
Yeah.
And I thought that was so obvious that, of course, that was going to be the first thing. And of course, it was not even one of your things.
That's a great example of how language is different for different people. So my view of suck up was first in that position of a personality trait. I'll also say what I did for the third one is I went the other way. How is a library like suck up?
Yeah.
So one of the things that's creativity building is to recognize that you change your perspectives on things, which helps you see things from different points of view. So that's where when I was stuck going one way, I said, okay, how's a library like suck up? Where before I was saying, how is sucking up like a library? And again, like with the first game, it was what's my first thought, and then how can I make that work, rather than that's not right.
Yeah, and another thing that I like to do when I play this game is think about how things aren't like each other. And sometimes that's the connection. It's a very weird game that you start playing in your head along with yourself of, are they more dissimilar than similar? And how is that similar?
This is also a game where you can practice by yourself. You don't need someone else. So what I do sometimes is I will pick two things at random in my view and say how are those two things together. So I was at a park
Mhm.
yesterday. How is the tree like the tennis court? And it's just, again, it's a practice. There's no
Right.
right or wrong. It's exercising the neural muscles.
Or how are those things, how can those things be used together, or where are they often located together? So there are a lot of different ways that we can start engaging our brains and then making sure our mouth goes along with it. In the spirit of fairness, I know we're running down towards the end here, but do you think I can play that game just once and we'll do like a 30-second debrief before we close
Sure.
up?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh my God. I've got jealousy
Jealousy.
and jail.
Right. How's jealousy like jail?
They both start with a J.
One.
I am so not jealous of people who are in jail.
Two.
I might end up in jail if I am so jealous of somebody that I start stealing, robbing, and killing.
Three.
So those are three ways that jealousy might or might not be like jail.
Mm-hmm.
And I started with the J thing because, to be honest, it was the first thing that popped in my head. J is an unusual letter, and it just stuck with me. Had no idea what I was going to say after that, and just kept going. That's all there was to it.
That's it. That's the embodiment of spontaneity. It's the action, it's the doing, it's the getting started and continuing, and exercising those neuro brain muscles.
Well, thanks for playing with me today, Izzy, and thanks
You're
for the
welcome.
people who showed up. I appreciate you coming here. And we want to close by saying Sponto Time is now available at spontotime.com. It is $19.99, and it is available for online purchase today from The Game Crafter. And you go to spontotime.com, there's a link there, and for today, we have a special discount code, and this discount code is good until the end of the month. And it is Sponto10. So if you're looking to get this game to increase engagement, improve spontaneity skills, collaboration, team building, creativity, there are 10 other games that we have listed on our site along with the very short rules. Each game lasts only a few minutes. There's debriefing questions you can do afterwards. You can play this game in groups, at home, in the car, wherever you wish, and have fun playing. It's Sponto Time, and I even cut a little commercial so you can see exactly what you're getting into. It is Sponto Time. It's the party games that help you think on your feet. And what is it? It is a deck of cards with over 10 games in it. Each game takes 1 to 5 minutes. You need one or more players for team building, and it's appropriate for ages 12 and up, which means it's corporation and work friendly. So your contents are 54 cards, and the Sponto Time games is a collection of fast improvisational party games designed to help you think on your feet and become more spontaneous. You can be creative, tell stories, build teams, have more fun, and discover something new about yourself and others. And what it is we've got 3 different kinds of cards that all represent different things. The green cards are environment cards. The purple cards are personality types. And the orange cards are problems or dilemmas that you can encounter. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of games that you can play with Sponto Time, and the game is available right now for purchase for only $19.99. Let's play a few games, shall we?
Yes, let's. And I'd like to thank the folks who came by. If we're not connected on LinkedIn, I would love to do that. Um, Connect with me, and I'd love to to learn a little bit more about you. And if you need any ideas or help with playing the games, contact us, either of us. And our mission is to spread this idea of Sponto Time far and wide.
Indeed. And I'll close with Jake's comment saying that we both need some props for being willing to play the game live here. Take some guts, and my Finnish family would call it sitsu. Thanks, Jake. And thanks, everyone who came today. We'll see you later, okay? Have fun and play some games.
Bye.